welcome to another episode of Sandy Killer Projects. Today we have for you our brand new 2023 Honda Civic Sport. We're going to do a complete detailed walkthrough, show you all the little details and why we ended up buying this car, even though it was not a car that we were looking to buy. There's lots of information to go over, so let's get started. Let's start on the driver's door. It has electronically controlled side view mirrors, lock and unlock buttons, window lock controls for the rear, auto up on both of the front windows, and then your regular roll-up window buttons here, and then your trunk release on the front edge of the door. All right, let's start it up and take a look at how it starts up. It normally has a welcome screen, which I'm not able to show you because I've already started and stopped the car a few times. If you notice on this screen, this is actually your only physical gauge. Everything on this half of the screen, all the numbers, everything that you see is electronic, and it's 100% totally configurable through the steering wheel buttons. Okay, so this does come with paddle shifters. There is nothing that you need to do to engage them. You don't have to move the stick in one direction or the other to tell it to do that. You just work the paddle shifters in either direction while driving, and it'll end up shifting up or shifting down as you need, and as you drive along it will go back into its own auto mode. It also comes with cruise control. It comes with a version of cruise control called active drive cruise control. This version of cruise control allows the car to be able to sense the distance in front of it, and you can adjust that with the settings for here. This is also your lane departure assistance, which allows you to technically take your hands off of the steering wheel and the car will stay tracking within the lines. Then it also has your regular buttons that allow you to configure the screens that are up front on the left side, and then your volume button and which source you're using on your audio, and then your track forward and back and your voice commands right there. Side of your steering wheel, this is your dimmer controls. This one controls the amount of flow coming out of the vents, and the vents are controlled with this stick. Below that is your driver mitigation controls. You can hit that. It'll bring up a screen up here. The icon on the top is for road departure mitigation. This is your crash mitigation to make sure that once the cars are within a distance of each other, it allows you to keep a certain distance back. Those are all controlled by that button. The button below it is your traction control button. By hitting that, it turns the traction control off with that little icon up top. There are two sticks behind your steering wheel. On the left side, it controls your lighting controls and your blinker controls. On the right side, it controls your wiper controls. They're pretty standard, normal switches that are in these kinds of cars. Over to the center, you have two LED controlled lights in the center console up on the top, and then your rearview mirror is just a basic rearview mirror. There's no electronics built into it. Then moving down to the stereo. Okay, so this comes with a 7-inch display screen that is touchscreen and also has buttons below it. Because this is more of a basic model, it doesn't have a lot of like apps and stuff built into it. It does have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. They are hooked in through this wire. You have to connect into it that way because it doesn't have built-in apps as you normally would. In your menu, which is the screen that we're looking at here, is just all your regular controls to be able to make adjustments. This is also where you'd be able to reset your auto life. You can also do it through the buttons on the steering wheel and through those screens in the back. All of these buttons down here allow you to get to the areas that you need. This one is for setting up your phone to the car. This one allows you to access your different media, your radio, and your phone if you've got your phone connected to it. You have your track forward and back. This acts like a mouse, and you can click it, or you can also touch any of the buttons on the screen, and it'll allow you to move into those menus to be able to get in and out of them. You have two vent controls. This allows you to change them in either direction. You have your hazard button. All of your climate control is dealt through here. There's no other features in that are dealt through the screen. This just is pretty standard. There's no heated seats built into this one, so it doesn't have any controls up here for that. Below that is a 12-volt power source, and then a USB. You can use this to either charge your phone, or you can also have it connect your Android Auto or Apple CarPlay to the screen if necessary. Below that, you have your regular standard automatic shift stick, and then below that you have your driving modes. Driving modes are actually kind of fun. It has Econ, normal, and sport mode. All you do is tap this in either direction. When you do it, you'll hear the beep. The beep shows that it's changing an icon on the left dash, and then you can set that for any of the modes that you like. Generally, this car has actually got a good amount of power. I've been driving it so far in normal. I would pretty much only use Econ if you're just coasting along, because it's really doggy on hills and doesn't give you a lot of response to the pedal. In sport mode, you get a much more snappy response. to the pedal, and the power comes more quickly and the shifts hang a lot later. Then below that you have your electronic parking brake button. You lock it by pulling it up, and you unlock it by pushing it down. Below that you have brake hold. Brake hold is an interesting button because if you're in traffic, all you have to do is be driving along, push your brake and hit the brake hold button. By hitting the brake hold button, it allows you to take your foot off of the brake, and it allows the car to stay in place while you're sitting in traffic. The console box is just that. It has one little random cup in the top of it. Inside of that there are no plugs and wires to hook anything up. It's just a regular center console box. Okay, so inside of your fully controllable left side of the dash, you hit your home button on the steering wheel here, and it allows you to set the configuration for how you want this screen to read. It can show you the speed and time. It can show you if you're paying attention to the road. It shows you the seat belts are all locked. You can check on the regular maintenance, any safety support that's necessary. You can go through your settings similar to what are over on your center dash controls. You can customize all of the displays that show up and which ones you want on and which ones you don't. You can set the center for no content at all, which means it'll just show your RPMs in the center of it. Then you have any warnings that you might be getting, and then the fuel range. I like to leave it on the fuel range. The button that does all of this is this little button here. It's a rolling scroll button, and it actually pushes it similar to that of like a mouse. It's actually really convenient to use, especially when you're trying to look at something quickly. Looking at the back seat, you have a pretty spacious rear. The rear seats are also built with a little bit of a bucket to them. There's no real extra features in the back. Rear windows just have a window control and a door lock. There are no plugs built into the back of the center console, but I will say it is pretty spacious and fairly roomy to sit in the back of the Civic. They've seemed to make these Civics longer and longer. Has more of a feel of like a older Accord nowadays. A quick look inside of the trunk. This trunk is pretty spacious for the size of the car. The only way to knock down the seats is by this lever. In the back, it only pushes the whole bench seat back. It doesn't do a split fold. This car actually does come with a spare tire in the back, which is pretty awesome. A lot of cars have been moving away from that to save on weight and cost. Most people like having a spare tire in the back, so that's a good option as well. So let's talk about some of the features that are specific to the Sport versus the LX. These metal pedals are one of the added upgraded features. Also the seats, which I mentioned in the short, both of these were talked about, but these are a vinyl outside cloth insert seat that are built more like a bucket, which is a little bit more comfortable than the standard LX seats. Other features that I actually really like about this one versus the LX is it comes with an 18-inch blacked out rim instead of a 16-inch. These tires are also a little bit wider, which is also part of the reason why you get lower gas mileage, but you get better handling because you've got more road grip. Give the car a good once over so you can get a feel for what the look and styling is on this thing before we go into the engine compartment and check it out. This does have a bit of the mid 20 teens Accord feel to its length and width. It is a pretty nice car for what it is. This would be considered one of the lower end models, being one up from the LX, but it doesn't feel that way. It's actually a pretty nice car to drive. I've driven it a little bit so far, and it's got good power, good gas mileage, which is most of what we bought it for. So this is a pretty standard 2.0 liter 4-cylinder from Honda. This is a K20, which they've been using since the late 90s, early 2000s. This is the C2 version they've been using since the mid-teens. This version of it is pretty nice. These are very simple compact motors. This one in particular gets 158 horsepower. It's built that way on purpose because this is meant to be more of a fuel economy car than it is meant to be a powerful car. Of course, there's lots of options that you can push this thing up to well over 300 horsepower if needed. One of the features that I like about it is they've moved the catalytic converter further up, since these have a tendency to get stolen. All of this is very, very standard looking on any 2.0 Honda. One of the things that I like is they've moved the computer off to the side and tucked it behind a rail. It's not in the way of the battery or the airbox or any of that. This is a pretty standard car. and I don't mind it for what it is and what we bought it for. If you were to get the LX version of this engine, you'd get basically the same horsepower out of it. You get a little bit less gas mileage moving up to the Sport. The reason why is because your tires are bigger. The LX will get you about 40 miles to the gallon highway. This one will get about 37 highway. It also has a very comparable city mileage with 1 or 2 miles difference, and I think it averages about 35 miles to the gallon highway and city combined. Passport video, a lot of people asked where we got the car. This is where we got the car. Trust Palmdale Honda. If you need their number, it's 661-265-6000. I would ask for James Cook. He's who I deal with. If you tell him I sent you, he'll definitely know you came from the channel. I bought this car out of necessity. I bought this car because I needed something that got good gas mileage. I bought this car because I needed something that had enough horsepower to be able to get out of its own way. 158 horsepower may seem like a little bit, but because of how it has the controls inside of it that allow you to give it more horsepower or less as needed, it actually is a pretty snappy car. And gets out of its own way, which is most of what I needed. The reason why I needed to buy this car and the reason why this ended up becoming a necessity is because my baby, Cherokee, is having a timing chain issue, and this is my regular commuter. So since I can't drive this to and from work, and because I need to be able to get to work regularly because that's what pays the bills and not this channel, I had to get something in a hurry, and I had to get it to where I could drive it now. The plan was, instead of buying this, that I would probably end up getting the Ram Dakota that's supposed to be coming out in 24 or 25, but unfortunately my Kale Cherokee did not make it long enough to do that. So we're going to end up fixing the issues on that car and probably end up selling it. But at this point, we're just holding on to all the cars, and this is now going to be my regular commuter. Made it this far through the video. Please make sure to subscribe to our channel. We have lots more content coming up on this vehicle in particular. Similar to all the other vehicles that we have on our property, we'll be doing oil changes, air filters, spark plugs as they come up, and we'll be making it easier for you guys to be able to find ways of getting those jobs done yourself. As always, thank you for watching, and we'll keep making more videos.